This episode of the MultimediaJay Show is brought to you by Playoutsideland, family fun theme park and outdoor museum. Let's start the show.
Howdy folks, Jason here, aka MultimediaJay.
What is up, everybody?
This is the MultimediaJay Show for August 1st, 2012. Today's show topic is actions speak louder than words. And now, the man himself, MultimediaJay.
I just want everybody to think about that for a second, what the announcer guy just said. August 1st. August 1st. Really? Already? Gee, where'd this year go, I wonder? What's up, everybody? This is the MultimediaJay Show, and today we have a lot of stuff to talk about. Lots of commentary. If you thought, for instance, that the news commentary part of the show was just the stepping stone to the meat of the show, namely the main discussion, you're never going to think that way again after today's show. Today, we've got two big things to talk about. First, we have news commentary on what's been going on with Radio Shack lately. Like I mentioned in my last vlog, Radio Shack has fallen on hard times, and they released some terrible quarterly reports and suspended their dividend. So that's not good. But I think what's happening to Radio Shack is a symptom rather than the problem. So we're going to talk about that first, and then afterwards, today's main discussion is going to be actions speak louder than words. It's been the theme for 2012 for me, and yeah, actions speak louder than words. No matter where I look, I keep running into that old saying again and again and again and again and again. And YouTube's been no exception. This stuff happens on YouTube too, so we're going to make it a point to talk about specifically how actions speak louder than words has affected YouTube in recent years. So definitely stay tuned for that. If you were looking for commentary, you've come to the right place, because today's podcast is going to have a lot of commentary. So let's not waste any time with this opening monologue stuff, and let's get straight to some news. From InvestorPlace.com, is it time to put Radio Shack on death watch? RSH's dividend suspension is an ominous sign, but link will be posted in the description as usual. But basically this past week, Radio Shack posted some of its worst quarterlies in decades. A notable quarterly loss, and they're suspending their dividend for the first time in a long time. Yeah, things aren't looking good for Radio Shack. Radio Shack is very much a shadow of its former self. It used to be the place for electronics back in the day, but not anymore. Unfortunately, despite Radio Shack's current problems, I think they're a symptom and not the actual problem itself. The problem is quite simply that brick and mortar stores aren't really adapting to the new marketplace that's been created by e-tailers and whatnot. Now, there's a term that I use, brick and mortar dinostores. I've been using that term for probably a couple of years now. I think I first started throwing it around in like 2009-ish or so. Matter of fact, I first mentioned it in an old Blu-ray, an old vlog that I did about Blu-ray displays back in 2009 that I've since taken down, because I'm not a big fan of video blogging. I'm sure I'll reintroduce the topic later on at some point through some other kind of video, or heck, let's talk about it right now. One thing that I can't stand about brick and mortar stores is when they when they pretend that the internet and e-tailers have never existed before, and they act like they're still the only place to buy stuff from, and so they run their store accordingly. And one example of this that I've seen was Blu-ray displays. You'll go into, say, a big box retailer, you head over to the electronics section, you'll see the big wall of TVs that maybe they'll look all nice. I've seen some worn out store demo models before where the TVs that were supposed to make you want to buy a new TV didn't look so hot, but in a lot of cases I've seen, you go by the big wall of TVs, then you get to the Blu-ray section, and they've got this TV hanging up with a demo going that tells you, see what you've been missing, improved picture, improved sound, try Blu-ray today, and things like that. So you take a look at, this, you're seeing this demo and it's saying, Blu-ray this, Blu-ray that. And what are they displaying it on? An old, worn out 32-inch TV that probably isn't even 1080p to begin with. And you just can't see the improvements. And people wonder why Blu-ray's market penetration has been so miserable. Then I go online to a site like BluRayStats.com, which I could probably also post a link to as well. I also have a link to it on my blog in the menu system as well, MultimediaJay.wordpress.com. And so I go on to BluRayStats.com and I'll see like all the Amazon sales going on. Then I'll go to Amazon and I'll see sale after sale after sale on Blu-ray. But in the brick and mortars, it's regular price after regular price after regular price. You know, people complain about Blu-ray being too expensive because of $30 movies and stuff like that. But all the $30 movies that I've ever gotten on Blu-ray have all had one thing in common: brick and mortar stores every single time. And Radio Shack, sadly, has been no exception to this rule, because as much as brick and mortar stores may complain about e-tailers, and as much as e-tailers may have an uneven playing field right now because of outdated sales tax rules in this country and things like that, there's a lot of people that are like, oh, look, I can buy stuff on the internet and I don't have to pay any tax. Oh, yes, you do. Take a look at your state's laws and see if there's something called a use tax law, which applies to online purchases. I know the state of Connecticut has one, Form OP 186 at the Connecticut DRS website. It's the most annoying part of being such a big fan of e-tailers, is having to fill out that stupid form every single year and calculate all the value of the purchases and how much tax I owe, and actually writing out a paper check and sending it to the Department of Revenue Services every year. I don't know how strict the enforcement is, but I figure with how New England states are often in bad shape financially these days, I wouldn't be surprised if some of these state governments decided to start trying to chase after people or even small businesses for use tax type stuff. But Washington is starting to get the picture, and I hope one of these days this whole sales tax thing for internet purchases is federalized and existing state laws on use taxes are rendered obsolete and superseded by them. Because it's just so annoying, if you want to do the right thing, to have to fill out the form and send in the check. And a lot of times, you know, if you make a decent amount of purchases, you'll owe more to your state in use taxes than you'll get in the form of any kind of state tax refund. So it's ridiculous, and I would love to see this system simplified, as well as the playing field leveled. So if there is a market advantage that the e-tailers have because of outdated sales tax laws, that they finally have to compete on the same playing field as the brick and mortars. I've got this nasty feeling, though, that even if the sales tax loophole was closed and these e-tailers were on a level playing field with brick and mortar stores, the brick and mortar stores would still lose out because of service. I mean, a lot of the worst service that I've seen over the past 10 years has had one of two things in common. Either it's from a small business, and I don't automatically assume small businesses are the best businesses because, you know, small businesses can be run by like someone who doesn't want to work for anybody, someone who wants to be the boss. They may not know anything about customer service or running a business or anything like that, but darn it, long as they don't have to work for the man. So I've seen terrible service from small businesses, and I've seen terrible services from brick and mortar stores. Then these people wonder why we have problems these days with showrooming, where people wander into a store like a Best Buy or a Walmart, and they take a look at stuff that they then go home and buy on the internet. Because, I mean, let's face it, when you shop online, do you get somebody come up to you and start nagging you to buy an extended warranty? Or, we got a sale going on this week. If you get this, you'll get a discount on that, so you might as well get that too. Or, how about GameStop even? Where I can't buy so much as a single, like, PS2 game for $5 without going to cash out and the cashier saying, well, would you like to make any pre-orders? Would you like to subscribe to any magazines? Would you like to get an extended service plan on your $5 PS2 game that costs $10? You know, would you like to pay for a $10 service plan or extended warranty on your $5 used PS2 game? Yeah, it gets pretty stupid pretty quickly. Even my netbook, I had I had this Easy Tech guy at the Staples store I bought it from going, Oh, yeah, well, you know, what happens with these things a lot is that the power button breaks on them. So you should really get an extended warranty. So I'm like, I build my own systems. Well, you really should get an extended warranty because we can fix it. I build my own systems. You should really get an extended warranty and an easy service. But I build my own systems. I've been building my own systems since 2002. And I've even taken laptops apart. You know, I'll stick with the manufacturer warranty, thank you very much. You know, and people wonder why folks buy stuff on the internet. You really think it all comes down to just numbers? No, it comes down to service and convenience. If there was a store that didn't try to second guess every single freaking thing that I do when I walk through the door, like try to upsell me to something bigger than what I want, or get me to buy a service plan, or get me to buy an extended warranty, or get me to subscribe to even a freaking shopping card with the place, maybe I'd shop at brick and mortars more often. But brick and mortars, the problem, they can point to the sales tax uneven playing field as a scapegoat all they want. At the end of the day, though, selling isn't everything. You gotta be willing to actually service your customers, not just sell stuff to them. Seriously now. Radio Shack, sadly, has not been an exception to this rule. There was a time when I was actually parodying their slogan back during the You've Got Questions, We've Got Answers days. I used to go around cynically saying, Radio Shack, you've got projects, we've got stockouts. Because that's exactly the kind of situation that I ran into with these people. Here I was, brand new to the world of retail distribution, working in a warehouse, doing a mix of distribution and tech stuff for these folks. And I was drilled, of course, in the retail distribution 101 stuff like stockout is a swear word. You never want to be out of stock, and you never want the stores you service to run out of stock, because what happens when stores don't have something? People get mad, they walk out the door, and they don't come back. At its worst, Radio Shack was very dependable for never having what I was looking for. I'd go into this place needing something, and oops, it's out of stock. Oh, we'll have it back in stock in 3 weeks. 3 weeks? Are you kidding me? You know, nobody's going to put up with a wait time like that. They won't even put up with it being out of stock in the first place. But it just seemed like every single time I wanted to get anything from Radio Shack, it was out of stock. I'd go, out of stock, out of stock, oops, out of stock. Oh, well, we don't have that, but we can give you this, and da-da-da-da. So here I was being drilled, and don't ever let your customers, the stores, go out of stock on anything. Then I go to a Radio Shack store, and nearly every single time I go there, what I'm looking for is out of stock. Then when it was in stock, the quality wasn't as great. The quality wasn't as great. No, a lot of internal brand Radio Shack stuff that I've known over the years has often been of lesser quality than its name brand competitors, like, for example, the Concert Made 1100 keyboard I mentioned last time around. And, of course, I went back looking for an answering machine, and I had two options, an AT&T answering machine from a big box store, or the Radio Shack one. The Radio Shack one was convoluted and complicated and didn't work as well as a $20 AT&T one. The reason why I got an answering machine, by the way, even though answering machines have 1990s written all over them, is because AT&T had upped the price on their voicemail service such that the cost of an answering machine is the equivalent of 1 month's voicemail. Or a couple of months voicemail. I mean, if voicemail isn't free, you might as well just have an answering machine, because most answering machines have remote codes, so you can just dial in and access your messages when you're on the go anyways. So instead of paying like a couple bucks a month for voicemail, just pay $20 one time for an answering machine, and there you go, you're set. So that's probably the only thing keeping answering machines still on the market these days, is that kind of stuff. But even at something as simple as an answering machine, I tried the Radio Shack version first, and it was terrible. Went and got the AT&T answering machine from I think it was Target. So, yeah, stockouts galore. The existing selection and catalog isn't all that great. And I think the biggest issue with Radio Shack, though, is that they don't need to be failing like they are. Nor does any brick and mortar store need to be failing like a lot of them currently are. You know, brick and mortars don't have to be endlessly on the defensive here against e-tailers and the internet. For one thing, brick and mortars can transition onto the internet quite well, as has been the case with Staples. I remember Staples.com several years ago used to be miserable at e-tailing. I'd order, anytime I ordered anything from Staples, I'd have to pretty much babysit the order to make sure I actually got the stuff in a timely fashion. But that's changed a lot since then, such that there might be some cases where I might actually want to buy something from Staples.com instead of, say, Amazon or something like that. However, unfortunately, some other retailers have not made the transition onto the internet as smoothly, and Radio Shack's one of them. Just look up RadioShack.com on reseller ratings and compare it to something like B&H Photo and Video. However, despite the rise of the e-tailers and all this other stuff that's been going on, the situation isn't impossible for brick and mortar stores. Not even close. All that's going on now is the exact same stuff that goes on in any marketplace. Market forces and product differentiation are what determines what sells where. The rules of doing business have not changed just because of the internet. It still is a matter of, what does your business have that the others don't, and why should people come to your business instead of someone else's? Those are the two questions that every business has to answer, including brick and mortar stores. I honestly think that the days of big stores are over, and the revenge of the small stores is going to be taking place because of the lower overhead costs. The small store chains that get it are going to do quite well for themselves, and then the ones that don't will just go under. What I'm talking about is, with e-tailing becoming mainstream and the internet being what it is these days, what we have is a world where consumers like myself get to have this idea that if I want something, I'll just order it online. But if I want something now, I'm going to go get it in a store. The key to stores amounting to anything with the internet being what it is by catering to customers wanting things now. Therefore, as much as people may have looked down upon convenience stores in the past, I think ultimately every brick and mortar chain is going to wind up operating in some capacity like a convenience store, catering to something that people may just decide, I think I'll go get something like this today. I think I want some of this. I don't feel like waiting for however long shipping takes these days. 2 days for UPS to deliver something to me is just too darn long. I want it now. I want to go buy a PS3 now. I want to go get a new cell phone now. I want to get a tablet now. I want to buy this new piece of software now. And that's real. The whole now factor, I think, is really where brick and mortar's future really lies. Because if something's not time sensitive and you don't want it now, UPS can get it to you in like a day or two if you just order it online. Even if the whole sales tax thing was fixed, I still think this dynamic of wanting something versus wanting it now would spell the difference between the market niches of the e-tailers and the retailers here. Now, in a day and age where all these big store chains like Walmart and even Best Buy have been tossing around the idea of experimenting with smaller store formats, I think this is definitely what's going on here. What do we need big stores for anymore? Better yet, what about warehouse clubs? Do we even really need warehouse clubs anymore? Do we really need Costco's or Sam's Clubs or anything where you actually have to pay a membership fee to haul yourself out to a big warehouse store? Just jump on Amazon, just jump on Newegg, jump on B&H, just hop online. Don't spend any $3 a gallon gas, and don't spend any money on any kind of membership fees or anything along those lines. It's just things have changed so much. The era of big stores is most certainly over. And the question is, what's going to emerge from the rubble of the big store days? Probably smaller, more lean and mean stores, and then the internet will just take care of the rest of the stuff. Like I mentioned earlier, people that want something, just order it online, and people that want something now will haul themselves out to a store. And then, of course, catering to that through sales and rewards clubs and other types of things, I think, is also where retail can really give the internet a run for its money. Because if some kind of discount or rewards club or some kind of or sale or something like that makes people want something now, as opposed to waiting 2 days for UPS to get it to them from an e-tailer, then that could also help them out as well. But I think the big thing here is that brick and mortar dinosaurs are in a change or die situation. And there are some that probably will make the change that they should be making, and then the rest, I don't know. I think also that, we should start seeing more integration between e-tailers and retailers. Like, for example, one problem I have with e-tailers is that UPS in my neck of the woods runs itself like a bunch of morons. If you're fortunate enough to have a regular 40-hour Monday through Friday 9 to 5 job in my neck of the woods, the odds are you're going to have some problems with UPS, because UPS has this thing for picking some random time, late morning, early afternoon, to try and deliver a package. And if you're not there, which if you're at work you won't be, you get the nice little yellow slip. And then, of course, UPS has that screwball program they started, I think, this year, where you can pay them X amount of money to get away from some of those yellow slips. Like, oh, yeah, pay UPS more money. Pay UPS like a membership fee so they'll actually do their job and deliver stuff instead of, oh, well, let's just randomly show up at so-and-so first shift worker's house at 10:30 in the morning, and if he's not there, uh-oh. Yeah, so I think really, Radio Shack does not need to go under. I think Radio Shack should be in better shape than Best Buy, not worse. And if they do go under, it's not going to be because of market conditions. It's not going to be because of the internet. Certainly not going to be because of the times they are a-changin', as Bob Dylan would have put it. It's simply just going to be plain old-fashioned poor execution. We're living in a day and age where smaller stores can finally start getting their revenge against bigger stores if they're willing to, work with the 800-pound internet gorilla. And if they're willing to, okay, here's the internet. Here's what people are going to buy from it, why they're going to buy it, when they're going to buy it. How can we work with that to get them through the doors into our stores? Instead of, oh, well, the internet's big and scary, I'm just going to pretend it's not there. No, the most successful brick and mortar store chains are going to work with the e-tailing thing, not against it. And this whole thing of people wanting stuff versus wanting stuff now will no doubt be a centerpiece of that sort of stuff. There, see? Didn't I tell you this would be a nice discussion instead of just some kind of stepping stool to the main topic? But yeah, Radio Shack, it'll be sad to see them go if they go under, but such is the times that we live in. Store chains really need to take a look at what they're doing and the landscape of the market right now and see, where they should be instead of where they are right now if things aren't going well. In any event, when we come back, actions speak louder than words. The theme for 2012 for me. Stay tuned, folks. This is the MultimediaJay Show.
MultimediaJay! Hey parents, sick of your kids sitting in their room all day playing video games? Come show them some real fun. Take them to Playoutsideland, Jaytona's hottest family fun theme park and outdoor museum. Playoutsideland is fun for the whole family. Our skillfully trained team of professional historic reenactors will show the kids of today how we used to have fun back in the good old days. With tons of outdoor activities like stickball, kickball, swinging on the swings, playing on the jungle gym, going for hikes in the woods, riding a bike, sandlot baseball, backyard football, and much, much more. And don't worry, moms and dads, Playoutsideland has lots of fun things for you to do, too. Come experience the bygone days when kids weren't all fat from sitting inside texting on their smartphones all day, and going over your friend's house wasn't something you did on the internet. Playoutsideland, family fun theme park and outdoor museum. This is the MultimediaJay Show. And now, the man himself, MultimediaJay!
Actions speak louder than words, my indisputable theme for 2012. Now finally we get to the meat of the matter. Not really. This isn't really going to be the meat of the show. I think our last discussion on brick and mortar Dinostores was pretty decent, but actions speak louder than words is the main topic of today's show for a reason. Everywhere I look, actions speak louder than words. I can't get away from this stuff. We've got the election going on, and this 2012 campaign is probably going to be one of the most useless I've ever seen. I think both Obama and Romney are two completely out-of-touch snobs who don't really get what it's like to not be at least as rich as they are. So, I don't know. I don't know if I'm even going to... I'm probably going to go vote, but maybe it's probably going to be like some protest vote for a third party or something, because I don't see this country improving no matter who gets elected. That's another discussion for another day, though. But obviously, politicians are a good source of actions speak louder than words. And one site I can recommend that I should probably link is ontheissues.org, which actually researches these folks' voting records. So if you want to see who voted for what when between Obama and Romney, and who supported what when, and who's flip-flopped, that'd be a good site to check out. There's also some quizzes too, like politics match quizzes, which candidate most supports your views and stuff like that. Me, of course, I do miserable with all of them except Ron Paul, and Ron Paul's even then only like 50% match. So I guess I really have become that much of an independent these days. But obviously, yes, politicians are hands down champions of actions speak louder than words. I mean, actions speak louder than words is one of the ways that these folks campaign against one another. Oh, so-and-so says this, but in reality they do this. But that's the easiest example. There are lots of other examples I can think of where people say one thing but then do something else. My own situation so far this year has been one of actions speak louder than words. Before I was laid off at the start of the year, I actually had my manager telling me, "Oh, you're a really valuable member of this team. You're one of the best I've ever worked with, blah, 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 etc." And then later on, sorry, we had to eliminate some positions, and one of them was yours. So I wound up using the end-of-year associate appreciation, thanks for being such a great member of this team, gift card to buy interview clothes to find my next job. So talk about actions speak louder than words. Then we had the whole cable company fiasco where I had a manager I was working for was like, "Oh, well, I know what I hired. We like that you get things done. We like that you got a work ethic that isn't, that we haven't seen in quite some time. You're doing a really good job. You're doing this, that, the other. Oh, sorry. We don't think you're a good fit for this company, so we've decided to not continue your employment with us." Oh, yeah, that's really nice. Should I even trust anything anybody ever says ever again? I'm just having no luck whatsoever with this kind of stuff. And you know what? It's not just things like employment or politicians or anything. People have this nasty tendency to do the exact same thing. Like, for example, have you ever noticed how much people complain all over the place about how cheap things are getting these days? People, "Oh, well, nothing's built to last anymore. This is terrible. That's terrible. Nothing is built right. Everything is throwaway. Everything's breakable. Everything breaks so easily. Nobody wants to build anything to last anymore. Blah, 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 blah." Yet, when you actually get down to the nitty-gritty of the situation, guess what? People want cheap, 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 and more cheap. People complain about the race to the bottom in retail and other parts of the economy where there's low-wage jobs and nobody can make a decent wage anymore, and nobody can really have a good career anymore. Blah, blah, blah. All the good jobs went to China and India. But then when you confront them and ask them, would you be willing to pay significantly more for a product if it meant that higher price put food on a fellow American family's table, because they could actually make decent money working in this country, you'd be surprised how many people just shy away from that idea. No. They don't want to pay significantly more for something, just because it's made in the USA. They just want whatever's the cheapest every single time. Then they complain about the quality. Then they complain about TVs that barely last a few years. Then they complain about this and that. And then everybody freaks out when, after all this demand for cheap, 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 and more cheap, we get scandals in the news, like the melamine-tainted candy scandal, the Chinese white rabbit candy that was tainted with melamine, or the lead in the children's toys a couple of years ago. All these big quality scandals hit the news. People actually get hurt and in the hospital from this stuff. And people freak out about that. But then once all the noise dies down, what do people want? Whatever's the cheapest. Every single time. You'd be surprised how many people just beeline towards whatever's the cheapest these days. You know, people like to complain about evil, greedy corporations, but here's the problem. Even the greediest, most evil corporation out there that's selling stuff has to respond to Adam Smith's invisible hand, has to respond to where the demand is. And where is the demand in the American culture? Drive down prices, which means drive down costs, which means drive down the cost of doing business, drive down overhead, drive down labor. Make something as absolutely cheap as possible without making something that'll get you in trouble with the government, like consumer protection agencies or something like that. You know, don't make, like, for example, extension cords that are so cheap they catch on fire under normal use. You know, that kind of stuff. So the pressure is plainly from society is down, down, down. Things must be cheaper, cheaper, cheaper. Then people are wondering why jobs are getting offshored. Why? Because you want that Walmart special. You're not willing to part with notably more cash to get something decent. I have this fight all the time with my folks regarding flat panel TVs. I mean, they want to they're using CRTs now. They're just running the two old CRT TVs they have. One of them's my old one from before I got my flat panel, but they are running two old CRT TVs clear into the ground. And whenever finally their last tube TV blows up and goes out with a bang, as TVs often do, if the flyback transformer lets go or something like that, then maybe they'd consider getting a TV. But even then, nope, it's got to be the cheapest TV they can get. Never mind quality or usefulness or whether the TV's even 1080p to begin with. It's just gotta be cheap. I've had this argument. I said, get a Samsung. I've got a Samsung. It costs a decent amount of money. It's 1080p and I have no picture degradation after nearly 3 years of use. And I'm talking regular use as a computer monitor too, including times when I've accidentally dozed off with my computer running and left a non-moving image on the screen for hours at a time. Still no picture degradation. The only problem this thing has is it's not as power efficient as some of the newer types of TVs out there. But no, they want whatever's the cheapest. And until they can get a 32 or 37 inch for $200 something, they're not getting one. Actually, I think what might happen is, regarding that, we've tossed around the idea of me getting a more power-efficient TV and for like $500, and then they subsidize half of that purchase, and then they take my old TV from me. So they essentially get a $250 1080p TV that still works perfectly. So we've got that's probably the only thing that's going to get a flat panel TV into their living room. But again, cheap, and more cheap. You know, who cares? It's you remember that commercial, the old Pepsi commercial, the Field of Dreams commercial parody that they had many years ago. There are some newer ones that are on YouTube. I'm not talking about those. I'm talking about like the one that was up in the 90s when I was growing up. Basically, the ghost baseball player guy walks out of the cornfield and he's like, "Hey, what's up?" And the other guy's like, "Yeah," and they do their thing. And then the guy's like, "Toss me a Pepsi." The kid tosses him a can of cheap store brand soda. The guy's like, "This isn't a Pepsi." The kid's like, "I know, I saved 9 cents. Guy tosses the soda back at him like he's throwing a pitch, wanders off into the cornfield. Can't believe it. Kid saved a lousy 9 cents. Yeah, well, you know what? So many people nowadays are that kid. They don't care about anything else except sticker price. In some cases, they will buy stuff that costs more in the long run because of a lower sticker price. Like I've had this fight before regarding printers too. You know, it's like, oh, we need to get a cheap printer, get a laser printer. We're going to get whatever's the cheapest. Yeah, well, you know what? Whatever's the you know what the cheapest is going to be? A $30 inkjet printer that needs ink way more than a $100 laser printer needs toner. So you're going to spend more money on it's called razor and blades. You're going to spend more money on consumables. Nope, we're going to get whatever's the cheapest. Shut up, Jay. And then I get the complaints. This thing is always running out of ink, and ink is so expensive, and that's... I've had $100 laser printers for the past nearly 10 years. I can count the number of times I've had to replace the toner on both printers combined. I think I can still count them on my fingers. That's how few times I've had to replace toner cartridges in my printers at home. I can only imagine what it would be like if I had ink printers all this time. Oh, yeah. So you got ink printers. Then you got the whole tube thing in general. My folks using a tube TV that probably guzzles more power than most than bigger flat panels they could get. But no. It was cheaper. I got it for $10 at a yard sale. Can't beat $10. Oh, yes, you can. It's called TCO, Total Cost of Ownership. I do spreadsheets of total cost of ownership all the time to justify my purchases. Like, why would I give up a tax refund to purchase a flat panel TV? Because it uses less power than it used less power than its tube TV equivalent. Why did I go out and buy CF bulbs before CF bulbs became such a tree-hugging fad? Because I could get a bulb that uses 15 watts instead of 60 watts. You know, crunch the numbers, people. But sadly, some people, they just see the sticker price, and that's all they see. They don't take a look at the wattage and figure out how much this thing will cost to operate. And they buy the 150-watt tube TV from a yard sale for $10 instead of the 50-watt flat panel new from the store. It's just pitiful. And I can't believe how many times I've gotten into these kinds of arguments over silly little things like TVs and printers and even computers. Oh, I want the little $300 e-machine. Oh, I can't upgrade anything or play games or anything like that. Yeah, well, you shouldn't have gotten the little throwaway e-machine. You know, the worst computer I've ever seen in that respect, by the way, was an HP Pavilion, where everything was integrated, nothing was upgradable. Even the processor was hard soldered to the motherboard. And it ran off a laptop power brick, so at least it was power efficient. But don't expect very much for speed out of something like that. At some point, you gotta wonder, $200-something desktop like that, or $300 netbook. Maybe the netbook might be better? So, yeah, cheap stuff. That's one of many ways that people do the actions speak louder than words thing. On YouTube, though, I see actions speak louder than words the most, because YouTube has changed since I've been doing this type of stuff. I first started this channel up in the spring of 2006, started making videos in fall of 2006, and needless to say, things have changed a lot, some for the better and a lot for the worst. For one thing, actions speak louder than words has showed up in how people handle YouTube these days. Like, for example, let's take a look at the subscriber numbers. You know, a lot of people brag about subscribers, but again, what people do matters more than what people are bragging about. You know, we've had YouTube crack down time and time again on bogus subscribers. People that, they're actually folks out there selling subscriber services where you paid money and then for subscribers and views, which is against the terms of service, by the way. That's one of the things YouTube keeps cracking down on, is people playing the system like that. And they get giant subscriber numbers from ghost accounts or something like that. And that was one of the various crackdowns earlier this year when YouTube went and just closed and unsubscribed all those accounts. Plus, there's some long-standing bugs where if a subscriber gets suspended or something like that, their subscription to your channel doesn't go away, even though the account's no longer in use. I think YouTube still has ways to go to get this subscriber bug thing finally ironed out, because nowadays it's kind of like there's always a 1 decimal point I don't think it's decimal point. I think it's like there's always a 1 number position difference between somebody's subscribers and the views they get for every video. Like, one thing I've been bugged about is that since I really started getting back into this type of stuff at the start of the year, after taking a couple extended breaks from YouTube because of all the stuff that was going on in the past few years, I've noticed that it doesn't matter what I post. I remember one time I posted a vlog and it got like 10 views. And I was like, okay, that must be because it's just me sitting in front of the camera talking. Let's do a gaming video. Nope. The gaming video didn't break 100 views either. Nobody, no matter what I posted, hardly anybody watched it. I've been seriously tossing around the idea of deleting all of my subscribers, of sending out like a message or something, or making a video that like I'm going to clear out my subscriber list and anybody who actually still likes my stuff can resubscribe afterwards. Or I might take like whoever's commented in the past 2 months or something, leave them alone, but delete everybody else and see how many people come back. But it just seems like the whole difference between subscribers and video views is always one new number position apart. Folks with 3-digit subscriber numbers get 2-digit views for video. 4-digit numbers, 3-digit views for per video and stuff like that. And it'd be interesting if YouTube could ever finally clean all this up. But I got a feeling, though, that just because I've been on here for a long time, there might be some folks that haven't logged in a year or so. Plus, YouTube's overall traffic, for older channels might have dropped because, let's not forget, folks, YouTube got its start before the economy crashed. And one of the things you need for YouTube to enjoy YouTube content a lot is good broadband. And what's the state of broadband in the United States and Canada? Miserable! The broadband internet service providers are basically trying to strangle the technology every chance they get. And they're up and away with the prices, too, in a time when nobody has any money. That might have something to do with it. But the fact that I've even considered blanking out my subscribers completely and just seeing who resubscribes and going with that, so I can stop having such a giant disconnect between subscriber amounts and video views, it's just ridiculous. Just the fact that I've even had to consider that, it means that things have definitely changed for the worse around here. Granted, it is fun to finally be able to post videos without having at least 6 trolls commenting every single video, "Lose weight, you fat ass!" But I'm wondering if YouTube might have gone too far in the other direction, where it's way too easy to wind up with a channel that's completely and totally buried, where other than a close-knit group of, in my case, fellow geeks and AV folks and stuff like that, people, the same handful of people that are always chiming in on videos and stuff like that, should I even bother anymore? So YouTube is not what it once was, that's for sure. If you're not all commercial and stuff at this point, just forget it. The days of the video bloggers sitting comfortably at the top as the most popular people on the site, long gone. Matter of fact, it's kind of sad to see some formerly big names in video blogging on here reduced down to like only a few thousand subscribers left, because I guess the whole video blog thing on here is just blown over. Now that is just for the people that don't say anything. Of the people that do say stuff, actions speak louder than words. Even applies to them even more. Let's take, for example, variety channels. This is something, see, my channel's a variety channel. I do a lot of different things. I'll do all different kinds of video types, depending on whenever I feel like making something, I'll make something. I don't have any real commitments for anything, including this podcast. I'm not like, oh, well, I'll just post this every Monday or that every Tuesday. I'm not like a TV network or anything. Just doing this for fun. But you know what's happened to variety channels in the past couple of years? Nobody wants to watch them anymore because people get all snobby. If you try and it hasn't happened on my channel yet, fortunately, but I've seen it happen on other variety channels. If you want to have a variety channel, odds are if you get the wrong people subscribed to you, what's going to happen is somebody's going to come bawling at you in the comments of one of your videos. Make one of these types of videos. That's what I subscribe for. It's the only thing you're good at. It's called variety channel. Now, and the worst part is people after they're crying and complaining that you're not making the types of videos they want and threatening to unsubscribe as if that's any kind of threat in the first place. Ooh, I'm just fooling around on YouTube. I'm really going to care if people just take off. So, after they do that, then they'll turn around. They'll start complaining that YouTube has too many sellouts. They'll be like, oh, look at iJustine. Every single time she wants to make any different kind of video, she makes a whole new channel and nags everybody to go subscribe to it. Yeah, well, you can't have your cake and eat it too. I mean, on the one hand, we got people that cry about variety channels. And on the other hand, we've got people crying about sellout channels where every single time every single time they make a video type that's slightly different from what they previously made, they make a whole new channel and bug everybody to go subscribe to it. Well, what's it going to be? Because you know what happens if you have a variety channel these days? Nobody watches your stuff anymore. You know? Look. You know, people cry and complain about channels like iJustine and big YouTube vloggers who make new channels every time they make a new type of video. But go take a look. Check the numbers. Who gets more subscribers? Who gets more views? The people that do that stuff. Go look at your variety channel where someone's using just one channel for everything and look at the numbers. They're not even going to come close. You know, people, by their actions, are saying, as much as people complain about so-called YouTube sellouts or something like that, the sellouts are actually who they want to subscribe to. Look at the differences in the numbers. Even after all these purges YouTube did to remove spam accounts, inactive accounts, and ghost accounts. You know, the traffic flocks to the channels that only do one thing. And variety channels, forget it. And people are abandoning variety channels in droves. Even Zaran Izarak has done it. He's described his channel as a variety channel. But if you dig around, he actually started a video response channel a while ago. Whoa, what's the matter? I thought you had a variety channel. You know, how can we gotta do video responses on a second channel? Oh, well, it might not make sense to the people. So, it's called a variety channel. So even people who support, and I've seen other people do that too, they'll claim to have a variety channel, but they actually have a separate video response channel. You know, so, you know, which is it? Do they really support variety channels or what? Personally, if I were going to do video responses, I'd put them on this channel, period, and not even start a second channel for that kind of stuff. But variety channels just don't do well anymore. And as much as people complain about YouTube sellouts, it's the sellouts that get the most views. People still want to watch the sellouts with the bazillions of channels. Then there's all the bickering over production value. Like, oh, all these sellouts, they got studio quality videos and they have all these special effects and they have studio lighting in their apartments and this, yeah. But guess what happens if you don't have all that eye candy in your videos? Nobody watches your stuff. Look at, you know, just before I recorded this segment, I was actually watching an old school video blogger who just had a standard def camera, no special lighting in his living room. He just sat in front of the camera, spoke his mind, and that was it. Guess how many views that video had? 150. You'd be surprised how shallow and superficial people are. You know, the minute you're not all shiny and polished, they run away in droves. So, I mean, it's just ridiculous. No, people may complain about, oh, shiny, polished, overproduced, everybody and their mother's uncle has a studio or tries to look like they have a studio. But you know what happens if your videos aren't really polished? Nobody watches them. Never mind if the guy with the shaky standard def camera knows what he's talking about more than the person with the Adobe After Effects and stuff like that. You know, people are so shallow and so hypocritical these days. Let me tell you. Then, of course, you have self-styled YouTube critics making fun of so-called YouTube sellouts and stuff like that. One thing that's come up recently is all these people that either they use the linking system to show little clips of other videos at the end of their videos. So they may have like a 2-minute video and 30 seconds of it is like, click this to watch this video or that video or something like that. Or they'll have annotations that say, click here to watch this or something like that. And another thing that people complain about is the folks that say, oh, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe at the end of every single video. Yeah, it does get kind of annoying. I mean, duh, if I like the video, I'll like it. If I want to chime in on it, I'll comment on it. And if I like your channel enough, I'll subscribe to it. But saying it every single video, that's a bit excessive. But you know what happens if you don't say like, comment, and subscribe? Nobody watches your stuff. Nobody subscribes to you. People, for whatever reason, they're like suddenly really nervous about interacting with YouTubers nowadays. It doesn't matter even if you use the old, oh, make a video response, someone popular, you'll get new subscribers that way. No, you won't. I haven't seen that do anything a long time. For one thing, you know, I don't know if very many people approve video responses anymore. They might, he just wants some of my viewers, so heck with it. And I don't know, the community part of YouTube has been diluted all over the place in the past 5 years. But you know what happened? Let's just get back to the topic at hand here. You know what happens if you don't say like, comment, subscribe every single video? Nobody watches your stuff. Look at the people that just turn on the camera, talk, and turn it off. How many subscribers do they have? How much commenting do they have? How often is their stuff viewed? You know, if this really is an annoying practice, it needs to stop. Why is it so successful? How come all the biggest YouTubers that get the most views and the most subscribers and everything, you know, how come so many people don't have a problem with being nagged to like, comment, favorite, and subscribe every single video? Why? Would anyone care to answer that for me? And then people have the nerve to complain about this kind of stuff when the actions of the masses dictate that the stuff that's supposedly annoying and needs to go away is what works. People need to make up their minds one of these days. Probably the funniest example of this paradox in action are these self-styled YouTube critics who subscribe to people who do this stuff. Maybe it's not all subscribers are created equal and they're only subscribing to these people to have stuff to rant about in their videos. But these people that have flashy production values and things like that. Oh, and they nag you to like, comment, favorite, and subscribe every single video, and they spend 30 seconds of their video posting links to other videos. These people are so annoying. Then they turn around and subscribe to them. Can anybody make up their mind here? I've actually gone through and I've pruned out my subscriptions multiple times. So if I'm subscribed to you, that's a good thing. If I'm still subscribed to you, that's a good thing. Because I used to subscribe to absolutely everything. Then notice I wasn't actually watching everything. Like, for example, Reuters' channel, with every single time they post a news article with a 30-second video clip, the clip winds up on YouTube. So the subscriptions page would be absolutely bombarded with Reuters uploads. Eventually, I just said, you know what, heck with it, and I unsubscribed to just about every news service I was subscribed to, because if I want to see news, I'll just read about it on some site or something like that, or dig up the video myself. No need to have new videos from actual people I'm subscribed to on here drowned in a flood of Reuters updates and stuff like that. But yeah, I think we've made our point here. Actions speak louder than words applies to a lot of things, but it definitely applies to a lot of people on YouTube. You know, folks, if you're going to complain about the way YouTube is these days, then, your actions had better back up what you do. And if masses of people are going to complain about how YouTube is flooded with sellouts, can we do some digging and see that many of these complainers are subscribed to these sellouts and watching their videos? I mean, you'd be surprised how masochistic so many people can get, where they seem to like being ticked off all the time. So they'll subscribe to people who make them mad because they do all these annoying things that they can't stand. As for me, I'm still kind of on the fence about the whole like, comment, and subscribe thing. I think another reason for that might be because of the mobile devices and other ways people access YouTube. I mean, we live in a day and age where YouTube's own subscription system is so broken that some people are actually recommending you use feed readers to keep an eye on your YouTube subscriptions. Even Google's own reader, Google Reader, I think it's called. I gotta try that out, see if it does work better than YouTube. That might be one of the things that's messing everything up these days, and yet another reason why you shouldn't even bother with worrying about subscribers anymore, because if people can just type your page's URL into an RSS aggregator, they can actually watch your videos all the time without subscribing. So maybe video views should be all that matter anymore because of all the different ways people have of watching and sharing YouTube videos. But let's just say that to wrap everything up and make this discussion not drag on any longer than it has, let's just say this. Actions speak louder than words really takes the wind out of the sails of all these folks that supposedly can't stand YouTube. It'd be nice to see a day when it didn't. But until that day comes, I'd say we should all just shut up and either watch the videos or don't. But all this complaining about everybody does these kinds of things, but then everybody only watches the people who do those kinds of things, it really gets old fast. I'm just sick of seeing this actions speak louder than words thing everywhere I look. Everywhere I look, 2012, it's happening. YouTube being one of the biggest examples, but not the only example. And it's just getting old. I mean, seriously, should I take anything anybody says seriously anymore? Because it's really looking like I shouldn't. If you agree with any of this, go ahead and leave a hell yeah in the comments down below. Because I know I'm probably not the only person who thinks this about how things are right now. So I'm not going to nag people to like, comment, and subscribe every single video. Why go to all the trouble? Let people do it if they want. I'll just say this once right now. Chime in. I have no problem with folks chiming in, unless you're just going to be like a spammer or something stupid like that. And, but we, I deal with that kind of stuff. Anyways, yeah, this discussion and this show has gone on long enough. Till next time, folks, it's time to call it a show here. This is MultimediaJay. You've been listening to the Multimedia Show. Thanks for the MultimediaJay Show. One of these days, I got to get this. Take it from the top. Okay, deep breath. There, now I feel much calmer. One of these days, I'll get the sign-offs correct on here. Okay, let's try this again. Till next time, this has been the MultimediaJay Show. I'm MultimediaJay, signing off. Thanks for listening. I think that'll work. See you next time, folks.
MultimediaJay!